Hi, ladies. Jaki Sabourin here. Welcome to today's live broadcast, How to Solve Relationship Problems. This is so exciting. I'm going to start talking about giving you relationship advice and dating advice, of course, but I know a lot of you are getting into healthy relationships, and so you need some support along the way. So let's talk about how to solve relationship problems. And when you come onto the broadcast, what I'd love it if you can just say hi so I know you're here. And if you have any questions, please post it in the chat box. Hi, Jill. Thanks for being here. And so, all relationships are going to have problems. In fact, problems are actually a great way to get closer. You have a problem because there's some kind of need or some kind of communication that's happening that you don't understand each other. That's what problems stem from, is really not really understanding each other. And that is normal because you don't really know. It takes a long time to really, really get to know somebody. And it happens over time, and you continue to build trust over time. One of the worst things you can do if you're in a relationship is to avoid the problem to begin with. And what happens is we start to keep scorekeeping. We start to keep track of all these little infractions, like he didn't do this, he didn't do that. And you start to get disappointed. And then all of a sudden something happens and your attitude changes and you have an upset, you have an outburst. And that's typically from, if you follow it back, is that you didn't speak up when something happened you wish you would have. And then it results into some resentment. And then resentment can drive a wedge between you because neither party felt heard or understood, and that can result in a breakup. And what you want to do is create lasting relationships. And so you need to expect that you're going to have a certain amount of hi, Robin, you're going to have a certain amount of relationship problems, but don't worry, you're going to overcome them. I mean, having problems is a part of life. So the first part of this I want to share with you is to accept the fact that you're always going to have problems. That's life. And when you accept that, it's not such a big shock, right? It's like, give yourself permission to accept the fact that you're always going to have problems, but with the right communication skills, and you will be able to work through those problems. And when you work through your problems, it creates a deeper set of intimacy. And that's why sometimes problems can be the catalyst for deepening of the relationship, but they can be scary. And so let's talk about how to solve them. And I just want to say hi to the ladies on YouTube. Hi, ladies. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Holly. Hi, Regina. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for being here. And I'm going to speak from my own experience and what I teach women in my programs, how to solve relationship problems. And then later I have an exciting announcement. I have a special training I want to share with you. And so how you solve relationship problems is just being aware that there's a problem to begin with, not avoiding or ignoring the problem. And how that shows up, and you might see this in your partner, somebody you're dating, is distancing is a common way that people avoid solving their problems because they don't know what to do. So you distance yourself. You might become really busy, or you'll pull back emotionally. And if he says, what's wrong, you'll be like, oh, nothing, it's fine, but something is wrong, or he wouldn't have asked you because he's picking up on it. So avoiding is a really unhealthy way. It's a coping mechanism, but it's an immature, childlike coping mechanism. That's what we do when we're children. We distance ourselves because we don't really know how to communicate what's going on. So just being aware that you have a problem. Anytime you have a problem, it's when you feel uncomfortable about something, or something's happening that you don't want to happen, or you want something to happen that's not happening, and the relationship isn't unfolding the way you had hoped it was. And so you need to have this conversation. And so not avoiding the situation. So one way that you can address something without, hi, Noelle, hi, Dinah, is to bring attention to what happens. So the first tip I want to give you is by making note that something has occurred that isn't okay, or that you're concerned about, or you want to talk about. And so all you can do is, say you go to dinner, for example, and at dinner, your date is rude, or your boyfriend or your husband is rude to the waiter. Maybe he's just short. He's just short with the waiter, and he gets impatient. And you don't need to say anything at that moment because it might escalate the situation. So choosing when to say something is really, really critical. And that's where your wisdom comes in. And so the next day, you could wake up and talk to him and say, when would be a good time to talk about what happened at the restaurant last night? And he might say, nothing happened at the restaurant. What are you talking about? Because he doesn't want to talk about it. So pick your battles, right? Don't pick on every little thing. If you know that he was really stressed out about work, don't pick on that. So he was a little short. You know where it's coming from. I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. Now, if it's consistent, if he's consistently short and rude to the wait staff, then I would definitely say, when would be a good time? So you always ask permission. This is a really critical piece in learning how to communicate, especially communicate things that are really uncomfortable. When would be a good time to talk about what happened last night at the restaurant? Well, what do you mean what happened at the restaurant? So he's already defensive. Saying, well, sweetheart, and you want to tell him what you want to talk about, because then you give him a chance to prepare for the conversation. So I wouldn't have that conversation that moment. So he said, well, I felt that the way you were showing up at the restaurant made me uncomfortable. So you're not accusing him of anything. You're saying, I felt uncomfortable by how you were speaking with the wait staff. And then, so then he'd say, let's talk about it now. And then you're like, well, I want to give you a chance to think about it. And I don't feel like you've had that chance. So why don't we talk about it tomorrow? And hopefully he'll do that. Now, if he says, let's just talk about it tonight, be prepared to have that conversation. And I would be prepared by having thought about, in a dialogue, what upset you exactly. Men want concrete details. They don't want vague stuff. You need to be able to recite exactly what happened. And so that he can have that concrete details, because he's going to want that. Men need that. So you say, well, when we first came into the restaurant, you pushed past those people that were in front of us, and we got seated first and they were seated second, and then we got a better table. And then after that, you were really short with the waiter, especially when you ordered, and then you name it. And I'm just wondering, if is everything okay? That's not typically your behavior, and I'm concerned about you. And that's it. So you can say it like that. And so let's give another example. Do you have any other examples that you'd like to run it by? So if you knew he was stressed out at work, I wouldn't say anything about it unless it becomes a regular thing. And so, hi, Kathy. And so another important thing about having these talks is to set appointments, and don't railroad your guy with dropping a bomb on him. Like, I really need to talk at a time, like, especially when men walk in the door. Last thing you want to do is be confronted by somebody when you walk in the door, right? At least you want to put your purse down, take your jacket off, maybe pour a glass of wine, or maybe make a cup of coffee, wherever you're at. Maybe you're hungry. You want to allow that person to settle in if they're just coming home to whatever their routine is. And then after they've had their routine, they're going to be much more receptive to you bringing up an awkward conversation. So you want to give them a chance to settle in so that they don't feel like you're attacking them. And if you need to have some notes prepared, I highly recommend it. If you feel like you're not going to remember, or you're not going to say it right, I would write it down, and I would have those notes out in front where he can see them. And you could just say, I prepared some notes, and he could just look at what you've prepared. So you're just being really transparent. This takes everything down a notch when he sees that you've got notes. He also sees that it's important to you. And that's why setting appointments and giving him time to prepare notes, if he sees that you've done it, he might do it too, especially if he's taking the relationship serious, or if you want him to take it serious. And so this just creates more intimacy by creating an appointment, by setting an appointment. You're respecting his time. And if he pushes to talk about something, you can say, I really respect you, and I want to give you the opportunity to think about what happened for you, so that we both come from a place of clarity. Right now, you haven't really had a chance to think about it. And I think it would just be better for both of us if we both had time to prepare, especially bigger conversations like, him went missing in action, or he ghosted you and he came back, or any kind of sensitive thing that you really need to get the truth, give him a heads up that you want to talk. And also, sometimes it's really nice if you can hold his hand. If you could put your hand on his arm and be affectionate, even though you're maybe upset about something, you will invite a lot more trust. That means you're not going to scold him. You're not going to yell at him. You're going to come to him in a tone that is inviting, that is quiet, that is calm. Even if you're in the right and he did something horrible, say he stayed out all night and disappeared on you and you feel terrible about it. You want to give him the benefit of the doubt, even if you know that in fact that he's lying to you, because what that does is it gives him an opportunity to come clean. This is just, again, creating more trust and intimacy. It's your job as a woman, I feel, and in my job with Michael, is if I can set the stage for how I want to communicate, I will get a better response from him. He is more likely to own up to it, to be honest, and to share the truth with me. If I come from a place of softness, of gentleness, and if I'm using my feather, okay? If you come up with your feather, and I love this feather because it does represent openness, gentleness, sweetness, kindness. If you come from that place, you're going to get the truth. And then, hey, if you get the truth and it's not what you wanted to hear and it's really hurtful, then you can respond in a way that would be appropriate. In that, like, worst case scenario, your husband or boyfriend admits that he cheated on you, then that would be like, I'm really hurt and disappointed right now, and I need time to process my emotions because I'm really upset. So I'm going to go ahead and leave. I need to go home and think about all of this, and I promise I'll get back to you as soon as I have a chance to process what this means to me. So you can still do that. You don't have to yell and scream. And what is that going to solve? If somebody cheats on you and they admit it, that's a pretty big, honest admission. Most people deny it. So if you do get that admission, if you can come from love, he's going to have a lot more respect, and you guys can at least be friends and maybe even repair the relationship. But if you blow up, it's just going to escalate. And I know it's so hard to do, especially when you feel you've been betrayed. But remember, you didn't do anything wrong. It's all about him. So don't make it about you by getting really angry at him, because then it takes the focus off him and he's the one who did it, and it puts it on you. And then you never really get to the bottom of what happened in the first place. So hold hands, be affectionate, set appointments. Know that you're always going to have problems, and they can be solved by intimacy, by intimate discussions, courageous conversations, and set your relationships up from the beginning to that you're going to be a person that wants to talk about things. I do that with Michael from the very first time. Now, they're important things. They were like, some things were about, let's see, sleeping over, when we were going to be intimate, when he got defensive once, I like circled back and said, I really want to talk to you about what happened, at dinner. And then we would set an appointment on Sunday, and I went through this whole process. And believe me, Michael was really uncomfortable, and he admitted it. He said, I'm really uncomfortable doing this. And I said, I know it's really uncomfortable. Me too. I'm scared. But we have to have this conversation if we want to grow together. So that's why you insist, I just want to grow together with you. And you're coming from a place of love. And yes, they are highly emotional. Thank you for saying that. So you're right. Some of these conversations are highly emotional, and that's exactly why you need to take the emotion out of it and process your feelings before you have the conversation. So you have to do the deep inner work on yourself to process that conversation before you have it, so that you don't bring the emotion. So it's okay to have the feelings of betrayal and hurt. Now, those feelings are indicators that you need to pay attention to yourself and nurture yourself. And once you process the feeling, you get more clarity and you remove the emotion. Don't bring the emotion to these conversations. It's not going to be good, right? No, you can't talk to an emotion. And so you want to talk to somebody who's coming from a place of clarity. And you could say, help me to understand why you've done this. This is really hurtful. But as soon as you go into the emotion, you're really gone unconscious. And it's going to be very hard to have a conscious conversation. And it probably won't result in each other understanding each other, because you will become defensive or hurt. And he's going to want to try to console you. And you didn't really solve the problem, right? You made it more about your hurt and less about why he did it in the first place. Don't you want to know why he did it in the first place? And maybe you do want him to comfort you. So that could be a two-part. First, I want to talk to you on what happened for you and why you made that choice. If you could stay non-emotional, it doesn't mean you're suppressing your feelings. You've just already processed them. And then you say, I'm really hurt right now. I could use a hug. Then you could be emotional. You could cry, of course, but make sure you get to the root of the subject, the topic. That's your objective with having a conversation. Sometimes maybe you just want to be heard, and then you can just ask for that. I just had a really rough day. Are you willing to just listen while I talk and not, I don't need any feedback. I just need somebody to listen to me for 10 minutes. So you can, that's a separate approach. And you certainly should do that with your beloved. I do that with Michael. I've had a rough day. I don't need you to fix anything. I just need to talk. Is it okay if I just talk for a few minutes? And he'll say, sure. He puts mute on the TV and he just listens. And I'm like, thanks. Once I hear myself run away with it enough, then I'm good. And he gives me a hug and I feel better. Now, if I want his feedback, I ask him for it. So I'm just going to look and see what questions are coming up. It's okay if you get teary-eyed. I think that's okay. I really do. I remember talking to Michael about where our relationship was, or about me feeling like I wanted to run because I used to be a runner. Anytime the emotional waters got hot, I was out of there. And I'm like, I really want to run. And I had told him that I was a runner. And he said, I'm afraid you're going to leave. And I go, well, I leave. And so he goes, I'm afraid of that. So we had like a perfect storm, right? He's like, I'm afraid you're going to leave me. And I'm like, I'm going to leave. That's what I do. And he's like, he has a fear about being left. And I have a leaving thing. So it's like a perfect thing. So he had told me that. And I said, I have this big tendency to leave. I want to leave the conversation right now. And he said, you can't do that. Remember our agreement. So understanding your partner's history is really helpful during this time, so that you understand what their pattern has been. Like I told him I'm a runner, and you're going to need to help me when I want to leave. You're going to need to ask me to stay. And then he's like, and I don't want you to leave because I'm afraid you will. So we had that conversation. We knew that would happen at some point. And so let me look at the questions that are coming in and answer some of the questions. Do you think at our age we can make any kind of relationship work? We're pretty much seen it all by now. Maybe you've seen it all, but information doesn't mean transformation. Just because you're watching this video doesn't mean you can create a transformation unless you apply what you're learning, right? And I absolutely believe that you can make changes in your behavior and in men's behavior if you always stick to a healthy conversation guideline. Why things spiral out of control is that you stop listening, you interrupt your guy, or he interrupts you, which causes you to get offensive because you're not feeling heard, and vice versa. And that's where the communication breaks down. And then you solve nothing. Problems aren't solved. So you really have to listen. Ask him if, make sure that you heard him right, get him to respond that you heard, what he said. And then you share. And then if he listened, if he interrupts you, you say, sweetheart, I'm not finished talking. I want to finish what I was saying. And then keep going back to that. It's arduous at first. Believe me, it is an awkward thing to do. But the result will be you understand each other and you'll feel so close. We feel so close after we have these uncomfortable conversations. And if you're coming from love, you're trying to understand him, he's really going to appreciate it. So 55 things that I haven't experienced, like dealing with someone else's kids and different ways of parenting. Yes, that is a really hot topic, one that can cause a lot of dissension and misunderstandings. And so you have to respect each other's parenting styles if you haven't raised kids together. And co-parenting doesn't necessarily always work. If your kids are older, you don't need to co-parent them because you are, their children are adults. So if you have younger children, you have to decide if you're going to co-parent your each other's children with other people, or if you're going to just allow him to parent his children and not interfere. And what you can do with that is you could say things like, would you like my take on what's happening? And if he says, I don't know if I want that or not, you say it's okay. Or you can say things like, let me know if you want any feedback on what's happening. I could give you some insights. And if not, that's okay too. So you're wanting to set the premise that you're not going to interfere unless he asks you to, but you're there if he wants your advice. In other words, you're not going to just give him advice unless he asks for it. And so it's definitely a challenge to the co-parent. And so just know that, just knowing that you're experiencing some discomfort because it's uncomfortable. And if you love him and you have a good listening skill, you'll be able to make some headway with that. Again, it's knowing what his history is, knowing how he's parented, and then understanding each other. So I hope that helps you. Going through this now, yeah. What if the same problem comes up and is never improved or resolved? That's a great question. What if the same problem comes up that's never improved or resolved? So I've had this, it happened before. So you ask him for an appointment, you talk about it. He says he's going to resolve it. He doesn't. And then you say, set another appointment. I would set another appointment for that. I would set 3 appointments. And then on the 3rd time, I would say, we've had this discussion before. And again, you have to stay calm. And you said that you would resolve it. And this is the 3rd time. And I would say, you handle yourself in other areas of your life very differently. I don't really know what the next step should be to resolve this problem. I'm coming up with some ideas that I don't think are really healthy for our relationship. And how do you want me to help you solve this problem? Because this needs to be addressed. So I would tell him that we've had this discussion and it's not changing. I'm going to have to make some of my own decisions based on the fact that I don't feel that you're going to make these changes because you haven't. Your actions are telling me that you haven't done that. So what can I do differently? Michael, what do you recommend? What do you want me to do differently so that you will address the situation? That's what I would say to him, to Michael. And that's what I would recommend you say. Sweetheart, what can I do differently so that you will solve this problem that you promised that you would solve? What can I do different? Because you're not solving the problem. So maybe I can approach it differently because I'm really not happy about that we're having this ongoing conversation about the same thing. So that you're really asking him, what's a different way to address this? And see what he says from there. Because I'm not willing to continue to have the same problem. It's dysfunctional. And after that, you might have to consider doing something more drastic, like saying you're going to go away for the weekend. So not an ultimatum, but second step could be, I'm really frustrated with the situation, sweetheart, and I don't know how else to solve this problem when we've talked about it 3 times and you said you would do it and you haven't done it. So I'm going to take some time to myself to think about this. I'm going to go spend some time with my friend Julie. Let him know exactly where you're going to be. I'm going to go. We're going to go. I'm going to go up to Santa Monica for the weekend. Give you some time to think about what's going on, and I'll have some time. And maybe when I get back, we can discuss it, and maybe we'll have a better solution. I would definitely withdraw. Tell him that you're withdrawing, and tell him why. So you can give him time to think about it and let him think about what's happening. So he really sees that it's not okay that he's not solving the problem or addressing it. How do you get someone or anyone to be your beloved? Well, it starts with you being your beloved. You have to be your own source of love and wisdom and acceptance and boundaries and nurturing. And that's why I just told this woman here, you need to go and take a weekend to yourself. That's how you create that beloved relationship. You're letting him know that you want to operate on a higher level. And if it's not happening, that you're going to take care of your own needs by going and spending time with your friends. You can get some clarity, and he needs to step up, make some changes, or you won't be in the relationship because you put the relationship first. And it's so important that you guys communicate. And if that's not happening, then you need to come up with a way to communicate. That's how you create that deep, intimate, juicy relationship. It's all with communication, and it's keeping your word to yourself. If you're not getting your needs met in the relationship, you bring it to him. And if you continue to not get your needs met in the relationship, then you leave the relationship. And he needs to know that you will. Women that overstay in relationship, they've trained their man that they don't have to do anything because you're not ever going to follow through with what you say. So don't make promises that you don't keep. We say, if you don't do this, I'm going to do that, but then you never do that. So don't say things that you don't follow through on, because he knows that you're not going to follow through on it. After a few times, did you break up with someone you love, even if he doesn't solve the issue and doesn't want to change? It depends on how important it is to you. If so, you'd have to give me an example on what would be. It'd have to be something really important, and I would look at the deal breakers that you have. So if you move in with somebody and you promise you're going to get married, but he hasn't proposed, and after you talk to him a couple times about it, and he's like doesn't want to talk about it, then what you would say is, for the level of intimacy we share, meaning we live together, we share food, we share a bed, we share each other's daily day to day, and we've shared the fact that we want to commit our life together. The fact that you won't talk to me about taking it to the next level, which we agreed that we would do, tells me that you're not really committed to this relationship in the first place. You're not even willing to have a dialogue with me about it. And that's really not okay with me. I expect the man that I live with, share my bed with, share my food with, to have a dialogue with me. So, honey, if you're not happy with the way things are, or you don't want them to change, I need to be the first person to know, because I really do want to be married. You're just going to have to come out and say it. So why don't you take a couple days to think about what we discussed 6 months ago about getting married and having an engagement party and getting engaged. And if you changed your mind, that as hurtful as that is to me, I need to know, because it's not fair of you to keep that truth from me. You're not being emotionally honest with me. That's what I would say. And it's really hard, but do you really want to continue to live with somebody who's not going to commit to you, who just wants to live with you? He's like, I'm really happy the way things are. And you're saying, thank you for being honest. I'm not happy the way things are. I want to be married. And if your true intention is to not get married, I need to know so I can make other plans, because my time is precious. And I'll find somebody who does. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to give him an ultimatum, because ultimately you won't be happy. You'll start to resent him. That's why it's so important to establish healthy relationship communication from the very beginning, setting appointments, asking him to help you understand something, coming from love, and not being defensive, not interrupting. Practice that, practice that, practice that. And I promise you, you will have healthy relationships, because you'll understand each other, and that creates a lot of juicy yumminess. Like when you feel understood, you're just so happy and everybody relaxes, right? Okay, so you have to be willing to walk away. And in closing, what I want to share with you is that being willing to walk away from the relationship just means that you're really clear of what you want, and you're clear of your deal breakers. Maybe he's drinking a lot. Maybe he consistently stays out late with his friends, and that's making you feel uncomfortable. And so you would talk to him about it, talk to him, and then you realize that I don't really want to spend my life with somebody who drinks this much or stays out all the time. So that's really a deal breaker for me long term. So that's why you would say to yourself, am I willing to leave the relationship if he's not willing to shift? And I like the word shift, because you're not saying change. You don't have to change for me, but if you don't shift, I won't be here. So you don't have to change, but if you don't shift, I won't be here. So you might want to. So do you see, it's not an ultimatum. I'm not going to make you do anything. But if you want to be with me, this is what I need to feel safe in the relationship. And I don't feel safe when you stay out late every night. I don't feel safe when you have that fifth, fourth, third drink. You turn into somebody else. Are you aware of that? I'm worried about you. Everything else in your life is so together, but this piece, I really respect you, but just not so much in this area. You really can call a man on his stuff when you come from that place. Yeah, no, I don't think you should ask a man to marry you, but if you've had discussions, somebody just made a comment. She said, I don't think I need to ask a man to marry me. No, I don't. I would never do that. And I don't recommend you do it. You want to inspire men to ask you. But if you're in a situation where you've had a discussion that you will get married at some point, and you're living with him, and he hasn't asked you, and it's a long time has gone by, and you're starting to get concerned, then you have a responsible communication. You're in a completely different stage. You're in a different stage where you should be getting engaged because you agreed that you would. So you're reintroducing that discussion. Sweetheart, can we talk about our engagement? When is it going to happen? We had this discussion 7 months ago that we're going to get engaged. I'm not getting impatient, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page still. Is that still part of our master plan? And then he might just need to reassure you. That's what I mean by that. Thanks for asking that question, because I wanted to clarify. I love surprising my man with little gifts, and he hasn't bought me one except flowers from the grocery store. I've told him 3 or 4 times how important that is for me. He says he doesn't have time. Okay, so that's a tough one. Some men are not gift buyers. And so I told him 3 or 4 times how important it is to me. So what you can do is give him some bigger clues. What I did one time with Michael is I said, you know, I coined it in a way. I put together a little wish list, and what I did is I went and took pictures of the things that I liked, and I texted him, and I said, I would love to have any one of these things. So I gave him options, and for my birthday, or for Valentine's Day, or for Christmas. And so he's got those all in his text, and he knows what he wants to what you want. And if you have to sit down and talk to him and say, can we talk about this? It's so important to me. I really like it when you surprise me with little things. And it really makes me happy, and it lets me know that you love me, and I know you care about me, but it's just really fun for me. I'm hoping that you would do that for me because it makes me happy. And so it's just maybe you approach it a little bit softer and say, I've asked you a couple times, and I just feel like you're not really getting the fact that it makes me so happy. And I can give you a little, little pictures of things that I like. And I would start with that, and maybe if you're out somewhere, you're like, oh, I really love that. I really love that cute little necklace. I would love to have that, sweetheart. How do you feel about can I have that little necklace? I mean, it's very hard to ask for things in the moment. I get it. And I'm not saying you should go and do that. It certain situations, if you're shopping together, you can hint by, wow, do you love this? I love this. This is so pretty. I would love to have this. And then hopefully he's going to get the hint and buy it for you. If he doesn't, you could always bring it up later. I was really hoping you were going to pick that up for me, but I understand how hard that is. And I don't really know if I would do that. But I would sit down and have a responsible communication about your needs. Again, and nothing is too superficial. If you feel that that's important to you, he needs to know how important it is to you. So you have to have another conversation with him. Last question. When I asked my guy to see more than once a week, he said I should give him reason to want to see more. Well, the reason you could give him is that you're not available at all. I mean, if a man said that you need to give him a reason, I would actually be offended by that, to be really honest. And I don't want to hurt your feelings, but the truth is, if a man said, I need a reason to see you more than once a week, and I would probably say, wow, if you don't have enough reasons that you want to spend time with me, then maybe we don't need to even spend that one night together. But the man that I want to be with is going to want to be with me more than once a week. So he may not be a fit for you long term. And that's something that you need to be honest with yourself about, because when I'm with a guy, I want to see him a lot and he wants to see me a lot, right? And that's what you want. You want to be with a man who loves being around you. You're his confidant. You're his lover. You're his best friend. You guys are mentor each other. That's the kind of relationship you want, that you're striving for, because that's what we all want. That's how we feel most fulfilled. So it doesn't sound like you guys are on the same page. He wants something different. It doesn't mean that what he wants is bad, but he's satisfied with once a week and you're not. So you guys are like apples and oranges. So instead of looking at it as a negative thing, say, maybe we're not, on the same page. I want to see you more and you don't want to see me more. So you might consider getting back out there and start dating and finding somebody that wants to spend more time with you. Because that's very painful to be with somebody who doesn't want to spend more time with you, right? So follow that. Use that as a catalyst for change, that pain, to move forward and not stay stagnant in that relationship that isn't going anywhere. You cannot grow intimacy with one night a week, right? It's very difficult to get any traction. And if you're wanting momentum, then that may not be the relationship for you. All right, I'll take one last question on Facebook because I love connecting with you ladies. And I want to give you my announcement. What about if I'm heading on 1 year, 3 months? I'm with my guy, but he's never been married. He's 53. And I have had the talk about wanting to be married. And he keeps saying that that's the plan. And he said it 3 to 5 years max is what he said. It's no long to wait, or should I be patient? Well, don't shoot on yourself. I would decide what you really want. The longer you wait, what I've seen, and this isn't true in every case, the longer you wait, the less likely it is to happen. He's being very controlling and he's having a lot of fear. I would confront that. Like, sweetheart, I love you. You love me. I don't know why we need to wait. It feels like you might have some fears. Let's talk about your fears. What are you afraid of? And just confront that. What are you afraid of? Because what I'm afraid of is that after 3 to 5 years that we aren't going to get married. And I feel really safe and secure in a relationship when I'm married. See, for me, and I think for most women, we feel very safe in relationships when we have a commitment, when a man's committed to us. What happens when we are committed to by a man, we relax. We open up not only physically, sexually, but we open up emotionally more. We trust that he's going to be there for us. So we open to him. We give him everything that we've got. And until then, if we don't have that commitment, we tend to hold back because we're waiting for that commitment to trust. And so you could just simply explain that to him, that why I'm asking for this is because when I feel that you're really committed, and what that means to me is have a ring, getting married is going to allow me to really deeply open up to you. And that's how women open. That's just a fact with women, sweetheart. It's not just that I'm trying to pressure you. I want to open up more and trust you even more. In order to do that, I really need that from you. That's what I need to feel happy and safe and secure in the relationship. And it's just what you need. And if he isn't willing to see that that's a need you have to feel safe, and he's not willing to meet that need, then yes, I would consider leaving the relationship and finding somebody that will. I mean, when they really know that that's what you need and they know that you're willing to leave, they usually step up or they fall away. And if they fall away, they may not have ever intended to commit to you in the first place. So I say, good riddance. It's painful, but you can get over it. You can heal your heart. You can get out there and you can find another man that will take you seriously, because you've got to be taken seriously. This is a serious thing for women. Okay, ladies, my big announcement. I just created a training and I was originally going to sell it for $97, but then I thought, you know what? I just want to gift it to you. I want to gift it to you because it's one of the best trainings I've ever done. It's a webinar, kind of a video webinar. It's 28 minutes. It's really short. And I'm going to put the link in the box so you can watch it. It's on demand. You can watch it anytime, as many times as you want. And it's called How I Attracted My Dream Man Over 50. But it really applies to all ages. So I'm going to pop the link in the box, and you can watch it at any time. I hope you take advantage of this because I want to give you the big tips that are in this video on how when you're not coming from your feminine grace, you are sabotaging your relationship, how we're chasing men without even realizing they're chasing men, and a couple other great nuggets that you really need to hear. So I've compressed it all into one short, succinct training so that you can get the most bang for the time, because I know how busy you are, right? And so I'll put the link in the box after the broadcast. Look at that. I hope that you watch that training and let me know what you think. I know it's going to help you. It's not too direct, Susan. You have to be direct with men because they don't read between the lines like we do. They don't pick up the subtle nuances. Okay, ladies, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, ladies on YouTube. Love you, girls. And thank you, ladies on Facebook. Thank you again for being here. It means a lot to me. Check out my new training. I think you're going to get a lot from it. Okay, I'll talk to you next week. More relationship advice. Love you. Bye.